For more on the president's executive order on police reform, let's bring in Rudy Giuliani, former New York City mayor and President Trump's attorney. Mr. Mayor, good morning.
Good morning, Ed. How are you?
Fantastic. Clearly, the president in the Rose Garden yesterday made clear we need to root out the bad cops, we need to stop senseless violence. But I also remember on 9/11 when you arrived at Ground Zero, debris was falling, the towers were burning, people were literally leaping to their deaths so that they would have a sudden death rather than waiting to be burned alive. What goes through your mind when you hear some people in this country say, defund the police?
Well, I mean, that's a terrible, terrible overreaction to what's been created as almost a hysterical reaction to a single incident, and not just a single incident, some incidents of police wrongdoing, police where they actually are unjustified in the use of force. But as the president pointed out, and as we all know, I think logically, 99%, if not more, of the police contact with the public is appropriate. Either no use of force, or in many, many cases, a use of force to save their lives. After all, more police officers are shot and killed by blacks than police officers shoot and kill African Americans. The unarmed shootings, which are the ones that are troublesome ones, there are only 9 of them against blacks, 20 against whites in 2019. So that'll give you a sense. Meanwhile, there were 9,000 murders of blacks, 7,500 of which were black on black.
So the president's trying to deal with that. You're citing the statistics. You're trying to find a balance. Go ahead, quick.
That's absolutely right. That is not to minimize the fact that those 9 incidents or more are very serious. And what he's recommended is the first time anyone's ever dealt with it. I mean, Obama had years and Biden years to deal with this and did not. And they had some terrible incidents. So this is a very, very good idea.
You mentioned
to have
let me just jump in.
Have a standard, to have accountability, to have a way of reviewing it. We've never had it before. And to have a base of knowledge from which we can get an idea of, well, how big is this problem and let's solve it.
The president sat down with their own Harris Faulkner a few days ago before unveiling the executive order. Let's listen in and get you to react.
Rudy Giuliani was, in his own way, a very compassionate man because he was able to stop tremendous. I mean, you look at his record as a mayor. He was able to stop crime. We went from one of the most unsafe cities to the safest large city in the country by far. I mean, by far. Rudy did a great job. And now, if you look at what's going on, it's starting to get back to where it was, and that you can't have that.
What the president is saying, look at this New York Post article, Mr. Mayor. Over the month until June 7th, including the crucial Memorial Day weekend, New York's murder rate more than doubled to 42 murders from 18 the year before, a jolt of 133%. Shooting victims, including wounded, are up 45%. Stabbings are up as well. And yet, just in the last week, the commissioner here with Mayor de Blasio has now disbanded a unit, as you know, of about 600 undercover police officers. What is happening to the city you love, sir?
It is being taken over by off-the-cliff, left-wing, ridiculous ideas on law enforcement that were prevalent in the city before I became mayor, that led to a couple of years of 2,000-plus murders. And I got it down, and Bloomberg together, the two of us together, got it down to less than 300. We got the city to be the safest large city in America. And de Blasio is ruining that for the citizens of the city. To talk about defunding or disbanding the police after the 7 days of riots that he allowed happen, after 7 days of his telling the police to stand there and watch the riots while people were being beaten up, while businesses were being destroyed, and New York was made a place that looked ridiculous.
So let's move forward.
And now to have an increase in murders.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor,
totally insane.
Let's move forward then and figure out, Tim Scott in just a few moments will be unveiling the Republican bill. Last night, Bret Baier was pressing a Democratic leader, Jim Clyburn, about the fact that the president has pushed through and signed into law, as you know, the First Step Act, criminal justice reform, opportunity zones in minority communities, and yet Jim Clyburn would not give him credit. Watch.
None of that's true. The fact of the matter is...
none of that's true?
None of that is true. I went to an HBCU. This is not the most money that's ever gone to HBCUs. That is just absolutely...
So what about the First Step Act? or opportunity zones.
How long have we been trying to get these things done?
Congressman, he did it. I mean, the administration did it. It wasn't the Obama administration that did it. It was the Trump administration with Congress.
If you want to. I didn't come here to argue with you, but you can argue it if you want to. It's just not true. I give credit where credit is due, but I know better than that.
So move this forward. There should be some low-hanging fruit. The president says he wants to ban chokeholds. Democrats want to do that as well. But when you have Democratic leaders saying they won't even admit good things that the president has done, like criminal justice reform, how does he get a deal?
Well, I mean, when you listen to Clyburn, it really reminds you of the fact that they've been around forever. I mean, they've been around forever with Democratic Congresses and Democratic presidents, and they haven't done a damn thing for their community. I mean, it reminds me of so many in New York that do the same thing. They say things are terrible, awful, nothing's ever been done. They've been in office for 40 years. They're the ones that have done nothing. Now, at least say, let's see if the president accomplishes it. He said he would improve conditions for the black community. He's the only president that's done it in 50 years. He actually did produce more jobs. He actually did produce less unemployment. He actually did produce the highest wages in the black community ever. And that guy that you just had on has been in office forever. He hasn't done anything. He's complaining about nothing being done in years. He's the guy that's there to do it. Don't you see the contradiction?
He's a leader in
Congress.
Congress.
All of them do this.
Absolutely.
The Democrats have sold out the African-American community, and they lie to it all the time, and people don't critically analyze it. When you hear a Democrat say, nothing's been done for this community, ask about, well, what did Obama do? What did Clinton do? What did you do when you were in power?
It's going to be a debate at the center of this presidential campaign. Finally, Mr. Mayor, John Roberts just reported the president and the Justice Department, as you know, are trying to stop the publication of this book by John Bolton. The president says this is a matter of principle because there's classified material in that book. But is it also true that you, the president, and others may be worried about what John Bolton is going to write about Ukraine? I remember John Bolton said you were a hand grenade, Mr. Mayor, when it came to Ukraine.
John, Ed, you know that I'm not worried about John Bolton. I mean, if he said I was a hand grenade, the guy was an atomic bomb. Come on. First of all, what I know of what he's saying about me, he's not telling the truth. And I think I'm in pretty good position to prove it. Second, calling me names, my God, that's one of the nicest things I've been called in months. And the fact is, I'm being called, I mean, this is a guy in a glass house. John Bolton, with his career and the ridiculous statements that he sometimes made that we all kept our mouths shut about, and his desire for war, which is kind of sick, he's calling me a hand grenade.
But he was the president's national security advisor. But pardon me, you're calling him sick. The president picked him to be in this powerful position, and he's now coming out and wants to speak. Why can't he say what he saw?
I don't care if he says what he saw or he doesn't. If they want to publish what he says about me, I'm sure that's not classified. I'm happy to have him do it, and I'm happy to respond to it because he's a backstabber. I mean, the fact is, he never came to me and gave me those concerns. If he was concerned about that, if the man were a man rather than a backstabber, he would have talked to me. We've been friends for 11 years. I know him for 11 years. He knows it's not true, and he knows he's selling out in order to sell a book. I don't know what happened to him. I did like him. I did respect him. Sometimes people fool you. I did not know this guy was a backstabber and a liar.
Finally, Mr. Mayor, are we ever going to get back to Yankee Stadium? Is Major League Baseball going to come back? I remember after I started with 9/11. After 9/11, baseball, as you know, you were there when President Bush threw out the first pitch at that World Series at Yankee Stadium. It helped bring this country together. Are we ever going to see them do that again?
Ed, you finally got me to break down on the air and cry. Finally, after all these years, I'm going to start crying immediately. This is ridiculous. We should have baseball. Just meet each other in the middle and go play so we can have something to watch and enjoy. The American people I'm talking about. They should do it for the American people. We need that boost in morale right now.
We certainly do. Mr. Mayor, we appreciate your time today, and I'll buy you the hot dog. We'll go there. Thank you.
Okay, and I'll buy the beer. Oh, can I say that?
You can't say that. Sandra.